What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Sox Talk, baseball talk, whatever you want to call it, because, Red Sox didn't play yesterday. But Sox Talk on tap, nonetheless. We got another Friday episode for you today. We're just going to be looking at some scores again. No crazy news going around in baseball. Yesterday was more so the rejuvenation of football being back finally, even though it's preseason. So that was mainly where my focus was as a Patriots fan. I know Jake's team's going to be playing Saturday, so he's got a few days to, still watch baseball. Even though the Twins did not play yesterday, but just looking at some of the scores, the Braves are continuing to stay cold, as I mentioned, and this is starting to get worrisome for Braves fans. I believe Chris Sale's start is coming up soon, so hopefully he can be the sort of stopper in this skid that they're in and get them back on a winning track. But if they're not careful, I think I might want to check the standings after I look at these games, but I want to say the Mets have jumped them because the Mets win yesterday. They're 61-54. Braves are 60-54. So I have to say the Mets jumped them, which is just nuts to think about, where we were 2 months ago, where the Mets were, where the Braves were. Now all of a sudden the Braves are sliding and sliding and sliding, and I'm not even sure if they have a wild card spot right now. So how disastrous would that be? I know Ronald Acuna getting hurt is huge, but regardless, like this Braves team is definitely talented enough to make the playoffs. I don't know about win a World Series, but they still have, Marcell Ozuna, some really good pitching, other young, good bats, and it's just none of it has come together. And even scoring 10 runs yesterday wasn't enough because the Brewers were just piling on. They had 20 hits and 16 runs. That's just, you're not going to win a ball game pitching like that. But going into the other games, Padres pick up another big win, another 3-run ninth or another late game heroics to beat the Pirates. Pirates are skidding a little bit. They were sitting a few games over 500 like a week ago. Paul Skeens had them rolling, but they've hit a little bit of a skid, running into one of the hotter teams in baseball right now in the Padres. And that bullpen is just lethal. Like if you give them any sort of lead, and obviously they didn't have a lead in this game till the end, and Robert Suarez picked up another save. He's been, I think, one of the most underrated closers in baseball. Nobody talks about him, but I believe he has like a sub 1.5 ERA. He like doesn't give up home runs. His fastball, I think, is like the 99th or 100 percentile, which is like best in the business. But that being said, Reds pick up big win in what was a 4-game series. I wasn't aware of that. 4-game series, so they win that series 3-1. They're getting back on track. Ellie De La Cruz had, I think, another 3 hits yesterday. They scored 7 runs in the 10th inning, so that's just Marlins fashion. Marlins fans are, they're not doing well. If you know a Marlins fan, there's not many of them, but if you know one, go check on them because they've sold all their talent, all their hitting talent, and it's a disastrous season after a playoff season last year. It was many would say a fraudulent playoff season, but nonetheless a playoff season. And then going to the Yankees, they drop another one to the Angels, so I believe they lost that series, which is kind of a big one. I mean, I know Nestor was on the mound, and you ask Yankees fans about Nestor, they want him gone yesterday. But regardless, it's still in New York, bad weather. So, I mean, it's maybe tough to pitch, but the other guy's got to pitch too. Tyler Anderson picks up the win. He's been pretty underrated this year as well, just on a bad Angels team. I was surprised he wasn't dealt at the deadline. He's, a low ERA guy. He showed out for the Dodgers a few years ago, got the bag in Anaheim or LA, wherever you want to call it. But, the Angels he's not serving a purpose on the Angels. He's got 9 wins, but that's not doing that team any good. Moving into the Blue Jays-Orioles game, Blue Jays pick up a win despite a very late rally from the Orioles, putting up 4 in the 9th inning. Blue Jays, that doesn't mean much to them. The loss means more to the Orioles than the win does to the Blue Jays. So, I mean, at least it's literally when the Yankees lose, the Orioles lose. Like there's no one wins, one loses. And it's kind of crazy. I mean, you'd figure one team would try to or start pulling away at this point in the season, but seems like they're going to stay deadlocked until that final week. And I'm curious to when their next series is, because that series could very well decide who wins the division. Another division or AL East team, you could say, Rays pick up the win against the Cardinals. That's sort of big for them, if they want to have a late season miraculous push, try and jump the Red Sox. It's going to be tough, but the Red Sox aren't playing the best baseball right now, so you never know. Mariners pick up a very big win. They need as many wins as they can get in that division, with the Astros right on their tail, and then you never know if the Rangers get hot. And then finally, Phillies pick up a win against the Diamondbacks. Phillies sort of seem like their bats are back. They beat the Dodgers, I believe, yesterday, and now today, or yesterday, 2 days ago, beat the Dodgers. Yesterday, beat the Diamondbacks. That's a big win for them. Diamondbacks are another one of the hottest teams in the league since the All-Star break. Ketel Marte is playing like an MVP. I don't think he'll win it, but he's putting up insane numbers. But now, just looking at today's games, Astros, Red Sox. We don't know who's going to pitch for that game, so I think it was supposed to be Nick Pivetta, but they're skipping his start because he, I think, just needs to work on some mechanical stuff that he hasn't really found since the All-Star break. Clearly, he's given up a lot of home runs, walking guys. So I don't mind the day off. I'm curious who Houston pitches. It's going to be in Boston. It's bad weather here right now, so hopefully they can still play that game, but it's going to be a tough game to pitch. AL East matchup, Orioles versus Rays. Zach Eflin goes against the team that traded him just a few weeks ago, so that'll be a big game for him. That'll be exciting to watch. Yankees, Rangers. This is a series the Yankees should win, but it's baseball and you never know. We've seen, the Red Sox split games with the White Sox this year, so that's all I need to say about that. Athletics, Blue Jays, Padres, Marlins. My pick, the Padres, to make that wild card as opposed to Jake's Diamondbacks. This is a big series for them. Tanner Scott might get a chance to get a few saves or, holds, whatever you want to call it, against his former team as well. So that's a big game for the Padres more so than the Marlins. Obviously, the Marlins, they'd probably rather lose these games and get better draft luck. But anyways, Royals, Cardinals, these are two wild card games that are pretty, exciting. Both teams trying to fight for a wild card spot. Royals trying to stay ahead of the Red Sox in that race, and I believe ahead of the Twins, because I know the Twins dropped 2 straight to the Cubs, but I could have to double check that afterwards. Speaking of the Cubs, we got the Chicago matchup. Who's the better Chicago team? If the Cubs don't sweep this series, well, actually, you know what? I'll give them some slack because Garrett Crochet is pitching today, and as bad as the White Sox have been, he's actually been a stud on the mound this season. So I'll cut him some slack. But if they don't win this series, Cubs fans are going to be up in arms about what to do with that team. Reds, Brewers, that's a huge NL Central matchup. I know the Brewers are way ahead in that race, but if the Reds can somehow win this series, they're going to put themselves in good position to, climb back in the wild card race and, jump some of the other teams like the Cardinals in their own division. Braves, Rockies. If there's a series where the Braves can get hot, at least with the bats, it's this one in Colorado, but you worry about that pitching. It's not Chris Sale going today, so who knows how this is going to go. This game might end like 10-8 for either team coming out on top, but we'll have to see how that goes. Another Phillies Diamondbacks matchup, Ryan Nelson versus Zach Wheeler, so that's a pretty good pitching matchup, but if I'm a betting man, I'm putting my money on Zach Wheeler. That dude's a big game pitcher every time. Dodgers, Pirates. I feel like that could be a fun series. Last time we saw that series, Paul Skeens had a pretty good start. I believe he struck out Shohei, and then Shohei hit like 430-foot homer off him. So we'll probably see Paul Skeens at some point this weekend in that series in LA. Mitch Keller tonight, though, against Jack Flaherty. That's a good pitching matchup. Mets, Mariners, two teams that, are kind of on opposites. Started hot for the Mariners, then they've kind of cooled down, and the Mets started cool, and now they're one of the hotter teams in MLB. We'll see who can outpitch one another, because that's been the story, I think, for these two teams. And then Guardians, Twins, doubleheader today. So he's got baseball all day. Lucky him. Wish I could say the same. I love watching baseball all day, especially when it's the Red Sox. But like Jake mentioned the other day, biggest series of the season for both teams. Like if the Twins can win, I believe, I don't know if I can't remember if Jake said it's a 4-game series. I'll double check. That's 3. And then do they play Sunday? Yep. So a 4-game series. If the Twins can take, 3 out of 4, they're going to put themselves in prime position, not just for the wild card, but potentially for the division, because the Guardians have been kind of cooling off lately. I believe they lost they lost, I think, 2 out of 3 to the Diamondbacks. I think they had a doubleheader and they got swept in the doubleheader. So Guardians are trying to get back on track. So are the Twins, who have just been riddled with injuries and still 13 games over 500, in pretty good position to be in a wild card spot. But nonetheless, we've got plenty of baseball this weekend, folks. Plenty of fun games, exciting matchups to watch. Like I said, Phillies, Diamondbacks, Guardians, Twins, Red Sox, Astros, Yankees, Rangers, all potential playoff, implications for any of those teams other than maybe the Rangers. Even the Pirates-Dodgers matchup, I think, would be fun to watch for the pitching matchups. But with that being said, I hope everybody has a great weekend. Safe Friday. If you're on the, East Coast, try to stay dry with all this hurricane weather coming up from Florida. But anyways, have a safe weekend. We'll catch y'all Monday, hopefully with some Red Sox Twins W's, and peace out.